I did not watch The Boys finale. I did not watch The Boys season 5. I've watched Moist Critical talk about the new The Boys season and the finale. I have seen up to season 4. I just haven't seen anything past then. And I'm really not here to do like a deep dive into The Boys finale as much as I am about media in general and how I feel like it has deteriorated, over the past few years. So, I don't know what I named this, but it might be a very clickbaity title. But it doesn't matter when you make tiny little videos and nobody really asks your opinion to begin with. One of Moist Critical's complaints about the final season was about how Homelander was handled when it came to his eventual defeat. They have built him up as this, like, very dangerous character, a very overpowered character. I had no idea how they were going to go about defeating him, and I thought it was going to have to be by his son Ryan and, like, no other option. And Moist Critical liked, like, his last few seconds alive. He thought that worked really well. But before that, during his fights, it seems like he was kind of nerfed, even when he took, I think it was called V1, which is supposed to make him like this super powerful, super immortal soup that cannot be coherently defeated. And he was talking about kind of how it felt just like it didn't make a lot of sense about how low-powered he actually was, and how it was really unsatisfying, and how the fights were really unsatisfying. And it made me think about a analysis I saw from a TikTok creator who I can't remember the name of, talk about Vox from Has Been Hotel Season 2. I have not watched Has Been Hotel Season 2. I've seen Season 1. I am talking a lot about things I have not watched, so disclaimer, but it's also VisiPop. I'm also not going to sit here and pretend that I can't believe that VisiPop has terrible writing skills. And in this TikTok creator's video, she talked about how they really nerfed their main powerful characters, literal Lucifer, Lucifer's daughter, these like very powerful beings that fought back armies from heaven, and how they now somehow cannot handle this one sinner. I don't know the context around it, I do not know why, but I know that they made it so they were like, oh, I can't kill him, I cannot fight him, blah blah blah. It's kind of made their main characters very powerless, instead of trying to find a way to keep them as powerful as they are without nerfing them, but keeping a coherent story as to why it is so difficult to defeat Fox to begin with. And it made me think about the deterioration of the effort that I think we see in a lot of writing these days. I was born in 2005, and just growing up until I think about I was 17, I think the media that came during that time was just absolutely masterful, amazing, and perfectly well done. So, Moist Critical talking about the nerfing of the main villain in The Boys, Homelander, and that TikTok creator talking about the nerfing of Lucifer and Charlie Morningstar, as well as like other characters I couldn't tell you because I didn't watch it, in Has Been Hotel, made me remember a specific tweet I saw from Alex Hirsch. For those of you who have never experienced anything great in your life, Alex Hirsch created Gravity Falls. And the main villain of Gravity Falls that they have to defeat in the second season is a triangle god, pretty much, that can alter reality and has ripped open a rift in the city, Gravity Falls, and it has literally, like, just altered reality. He's changing people's ears with their mouths, with their eyes. He's turning people into stone. And Alex Hirsch tweeted about how for the longest time in the studio where they were like trying to figure out how they could defeat Bill Cipher, they had a large whiteboard titled How to Kill God, and he was talking about how he just thought that was funny, that like if you were working in Disney Channel you would just walk in and you would just see that and it'd be like, oh. But they, had it figured out. They were figuring out, okay, this is a very powerful being. Why is he this powerful? How is he this powerful? What is stopping him from becoming more powerful? What are his current motives? What stops him from turning the Pine Twins into stone? Both pairs of Pine Twins into stone. Why are these characters still alive? And what are the struggles that they go through in order to defeat him? Because this is a very unbeatable enemy. And the way that they defeat him is that Gravity Falls is the only place that he can have dominion over on Earth because there is a barrier around it. And one of the older Pine Twins called Ford, who had worked alongside Bill Cipher in the past, when he thought he was a good guy, and since has gotten very paranoid and put a metal plate in his head so Bill Cipher can't go in there, has the knowledge of how to get rid of that barrier so that Bill Cipher could have the whole world. And he is refusing to give that information, which is why he cannot be turned to stone. And Bill Cipher basically has to get away to get into his head because he cannot force his way in there because of that metal plate. What ends up happening is that Stanley Pines and Stanford Pines, aka Ford, swaps places with his twin brother Stanley. They change their clothes. And Stanley was like, oh yeah, let's make a deal and come in my head and you can see all the gits and shiggles up in there. You can see all the good kush for real. And Bill Cipher's like, oh, God bless, let me in there. So he goes into his mind, and then as he is in Stanley's mind and realizing he is actually not in Stanford's mind, Stanford uses a memory gun from way back that's been existed, that and has had like an actual effect on characters such as McGucket and like a whole cult in the show, and erases Stanley's memory, which wouldn't have worked with Stanford because of that metal plate. So they came up with a reason that did not involve nerfing just anyone in general. Trying to think of a way to defeat a character like that is very difficult, and I wanted to bring up a few other pieces of media that I think put in that effort to keep the integrity of their characters, their show, and the plot when it comes to defeating the main villain and giving like a satisfying ending. The second example is going to be Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Jack Horner, I really don't feel like I need to bring this up. He's just a regular guy that uses magical items. You're not that difficult to defeat. The first main villain, which is the first that we actually get introduced to before we even see Jack Horner in that movie, is literal death. Not no Grim Reaper, not no angel or demon that's coming, like literal death, like the concept of death. Like bros in other places across the world, like being like, oh, it's time to die, and taking people, and at the same time he is here with Puss in Boots, who is disregarding his 9 lives and his last life, and it's death. You literally cannot escape death. It doesn't matter how powerful you are, how smart you are not escaping death. And the reason that Death wants to kill Puss in Boots is because he is on his last life. He has thrown away all 8 of his other lives, and even in his last life, he is still very arrogant, still very non-caring for the life that he has. And his journey to the wishing star, which he wants to wish on for 9 more lives, changes that about him. And when he goes to fight Death never properly loses. He, like Puss in Boots, does get better at fighting him because now he really has something to fight for. He doesn't have lives at his disposal to throw away, so he really has to care about his final life. But he doesn't land any fatal blow on Death. Death isn't defeated. Death literally just no longer wants to kill him because he is no longer arrogant. He's like, I wanted to take your life when you were a smug little bitch, and you're not anymore, so it's really not as fun for me. He was not nerfed. He was not, nothing about the characters was changed and unrealistic for the ending that was given to us. And as far as like Has-Been Hotel, which never had the best writing, I know, but at least season 1 I felt like I could believe that they were defeated the way that they were. Like, you're like, oh, they sell weapons, the angelic weapons, so they can use those, and we've seen it work on angels before, so I see. Very coherent plot. Again, I haven't watched season 2, so I couldn't tell you if that remains the same. But those, I feel like, are just kind of prime example of 2 things, which is obviously the deteriorating effort I mentioned earlier, but also just like the complete trust in the idiocy of the target audience of specifically Has-Been Hotel. I think, and especially with the rise of AI and doom scrolling and iPad kids, which iPad kids were a thing back when I was a teenager, so like they've been around for a minute, but I think with the rise of that, people that create media that are targeted towards that audience don't feel like they have to put in as much effort. And I feel like getting into that habit is what makes a lot of pieces of media repeatedly fail the integrity of the show and its characters over and over and over and over and over again. It is a habit you get into, just like you start relying on AI and suddenly you can't think for yourself. And Has Been the Hotel, as much as people want to claim that it's not, is very largely targeted towards teenagers. It is a show that I don't think if I got introduced to it today, I would have ever enjoyed. There are grown adults who enjoy it, but I'm a grown adult, and Five Nights at Freddy's is my #1 rated movie on my letterbox. I think it's my favorite movie of all time. It's like the #1 movie. I could probably recite it bar for bar. So, I wanted to bring up something else because I feel like a lot of the criticism that goes towards these sort of medias is often deflected by people who enjoy it. I have one more example that reminds me of the Has Been Hotel writing, the Boys ending writing, just because it really is a pattern that I've started to notice in movies recently, and that is the 4th Descendants movie, the one that came directly after the 3rd one. I love Descendants. I went on a drive to Chicago for a concert, and on the way back, I always have to drink an energy drink and, like, bump some crazy music, because it is a 6-hour drive, and it's the middle of the night, and I hate sleeping anywhere that's not my house. I was bumping that Descendants soundtrack and singing it bar for bar like it was nobody's business. Like, I wrote it. This is all hands on deck. Calling out to lost boys and girls, I'm getting tired of the disrespect. I go crazy with that soundtrack. I liked the 3 movies. I found them super enjoyable, and I still do. Like, I absolutely will still bump me some Descendants from time to time on my big screen TV. So, I feel like I can confidently say my opinion on Descendants 4, and that it is a valid opinion on Descendants 4. I don't care if things are children's movies. I don't care. I don't understand why there is this idea that if something is targeted towards children, we need to just automatically cut it from the expectations of a decent movie. Lego Ninjago was always targeted towards children. I grew up watching that to this day. I still think that is an amazing, fantastic, amazing, beautiful, gorgeous show. I think My Little Pony, great show. Just the OG with the main 6. And the Equestria Girls movies, I still absolutely get down to those. I literally paid money to own those soundtracks on iTunes. Like, dude, Good Kids Media, Gravity Falls, Over the Garden Wall, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, the Shrek movies, Bluey. I've barely seen any of Bluey, but fantastic show from the episodes that I did watch. My point is that there are plenty of pieces of media that are made for children that knock it out of the ballpark. The Trolls movies. I love the Trolls movies. I think the 3rd one is one of the best pieces of media to ever drop. I think it's amazing. I used to go see it in theaters weeks after it came out, and being the only one in there with my friend, and we were bumping it, standing up, singing, quoting it, yelling. I think that was an amazing movie. I think that we need to go back to caring about the quality of it, even if it is just targeted towards children. I think this is a big thing that Disney specifically has a problem with. Back to Descendants. Holy God, off topic. Back to Descendants. In Descendants, they have to go back in time because Queen of Hearts, evil bitch, just killed Cinderella, and they have to go back in time and stop what made the Queen of Hearts evil. And it's Cinderella's daughter and the Queen of Hearts' daughter. So the Queen of Hearts in high school had a prank pulled on her, and Cinderella and her were friends in high school. There was this huge ball. There was a prank that we never know what the prank was that was going to be played on the Queen of Hearts by this group of bullies. Now, she loathes Cinderella in, like, the modern era, and she blames her for this prank. So I'm like, Cinderella betrayed her in school, like, it is a sad thing. And the Queen of Hearts has literally actively killed Cinderella. So now it's really like, okay, the stakes are high here. What's gonna have happen to make her think Cinderella is directly responsible for that prank? And then you find out Cinderella had absolutely nothing to do with it. She gets invited to the dance. Queen of Hearts is gonna go to the dance. A group of random bullies that have nothing to do with Cinderella or anybody else besides that group of bullies wants to sneak in and grab a magic book and like play a joke on her. And the daughters from the future stop it. And then they go back in time and the Queen of Hearts is completely like good now. I don't think a single high school prank by a small group of people is going to make her turn on her best friend who's the Queen of Hearts. In all of the first 3 Descendants movies, the big bad villain has a believable fight. In the first movie, Mal defeats her own mother. In the second movie, Mal has to fight Uma, and in the third movie, they have to fight Aurora's daughter. There is always a clear conflict that leads to a battle and to a coherent defeat. But the Queen of Hearts was never defeated. But I feel like they took a very easy way out of the Queen of Hearts is evil because of a prank in high school. And she just can't be defeated. So we go back in time and we just hope that we do the right thing, and that's how, oh, she's good now and she's friends with Cinderella and she's totally different, oh, and it's great. There's that dissatisfaction that which comparing to Descendants to The Boys is crazy, but it's a pattern I see with the handling of villains and conflict in these movies. As Moist Critical described the ending, the finale of The Boys Season 5, very underwhelming. It was a very underwhelming ending for the Descendants 4 movie. It was a very underwhelming movie in general, and I will make a video on that because I have a lot I want to say on that. All of that to say, I just think that the quality of media has been slowly deteriorating over time. When I went to go see Five Nights at Freddy's 1, nothing will beat that. I saw the second one, and of course I gave it 5 stars, and I glazed the shit out of it. That's my job. Five Nights at Freddy's 1, Wicked 1, Wicked 2, Project Hail Mary, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, Trolls 3 are all movies that really, like, smack me in the face, and I sit there and I'm like, they don't make movies like this anymore. They really don't. I grew up seeing movies like Us in theaters, seeing movies like The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, Battle of the Five Armies in theaters. I watched a lot of movies in theaters growing up, and they all really blew me away, and I don't think it's the lack of, like, movie experience and, like, cinema, because streaming is such a big thing now. I don't think it's because movie theaters have changed in vibe. I personally think they're just not as crowded. That doesn't, like, I still enjoy going. I'm within walkable distance of a movie theater, and I love going, and I have a great time. It is the quality of these fucking movies that has deteriorated, and as, you know, as will everything. Stranger Things, new season. I watched Stranger Things season 1, and I think 2. And bits of season 3, and nothing ever past that, because at that point I understood that the passion for the original storyline and the message of the show and the vibe of the show was completely gone, and that it was just cash grab. It was just there for cash grabs now. I understood that, and it just wasn't my thing. I didn't want to watch it. That deteriorated over time. I would bring up Euphoria, because from what I hear from Euphoria fans, it's worse than it was, but I'm not gonna fucking dignify a show where everyone is a fucking child and then has on-screen sex scenes. Never watched it, and I'm never gonna give it the fucking time of day outside of shitting on it for a minimal amount of time. Schools themselves, where people graduate and come into our society to contribute to it, are telling English professors to accept kindergarten level essays because that is the new standard for college students. Everything is deteriorating, and it's just very sad to see, and just hearing about the finale of The Boys kind of just made me think about a lot of different times that I felt were very similar when it comes to the ending of media in general. So, thank you for listening to my TED Talk, and I hope you enjoyed my opinion. I am gonna make, I Fixed the Descendants 4 movie, so if you care, be on the lookout. Everybody have a great day. Goodbye.